You have probably been told that depression is some chemical imbalance in your brain. Well, what if I told you that that is the most disempowering lie you have ever been told? If you have tried therapy, done the self-care routines, and still wake up every day with dread, with fear, with anxiety and depression, then this video is exactly what you need. In this video, you're going to receive the truth that your therapist never told you, that your depression is feedback and it is curable. Now, let's get something straight. This whole idea that depression is just some random chemical imbalance in the brain that randomly happens to a random person at a random time is a crock of shit. It is disempowering people and it makes people feel helpless. Believe me, I was there, I was depressed, and I felt so powerless knowing that this thing had happened to me and I don't know why and I don't know how to fix it. It paints this picture that there's some guy in the sky with like Cupid-like arrows of depression being like, you get depression, you get depression, you get depression. It's crazy. It's no wonder that people feel so trapped and helpless, like there's no cure inside. Well, I'm going to change that because here is the thing that nobody is asking. What causes the chemical imbalance? Nothing in the world just happens. This cup isn't going to just fall over for no reason. That plant over there isn't just going to burst into flames for no reason. If I see a tree on fire, I know that something must have happened to cause that fire. If I hold my arm here like this, it's not going to just break in half for no reason. Something would have to happen for it to break. A chemical imbalance in your brain isn't going to just happen without rhyme or reason. It is a feedback. It is a byproduct of something to do with your perceptions. The current approach to depression is like slapping a band-aid on a broken arm being like, oh, you're a little bit sore, but it completely misses the whole point. Let's face it, talking about your feelings is great. The whole societal shift and focus on mental health is fantastic, but we're going about it the wrong way. It's not about having conversations, it's about having the right conversations. It's about balancing your mind and helping guide people to that. It's not about sympathy, because sympathy is addictive and dangerous because it reinforces a narrative that you're an innocent victim. It makes you more of a victim of your story. It makes you attached to your story. It makes you want to put more mayo on the story and make it more extreme. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where we are attached to our story and start being victims in our head because our identity is associated with this victimhood. It means that we are holding on to our anxiety, our depression, our emotional traumas because that's who we have associated ourselves with being. We're receiving benefits from it because we're getting attention and we're getting sympathy and we're getting coddled for it. So the good thing, you get sympathy and attention. The bad thing, you get trapped in this thing. You remain a victim of this thing from years ago. You don't learn the lessons from it. You don't evolve. You stay a victim for 60 years. It's not worth the sympathy. You can balance out your mind, learn the lessons from that experience and become better for it. Is that not what we want? To become better, to be growing, to be evolving? Believe me, I used to be depressed. I used to be anxious. I know what it was like to be a victim. I got trapped in that shit. And as long as I held on to my story, I felt miserable. The more my story evolved, the worse I felt. My depression and anxiety got cured when I changed the narrative, when I started seeing the other side of the equation. That's what I'm going to help you do. As I said, when you hold on to your story and receive sympathy, you are being rewarded for being a victim. You don't have to look far in society to see what sort of echo chambers that creates. The sympathy reaffirms that you are powerless to that situation. You're just some innocent victim, like that person that receives a depression Cupid arrow. That is disempowering. That's going to keep you trapped. I care too much about people to be giving them sympathy. I will empathize with you and I'll help you balance your mind because I know that is going to help you overcome that emotion, to help you learn and be better from that experience. So, what is depression? Because it's not just some random chemical imbalance in your brain. Depression is what occurs when you're comparing your life to a fantasy of how you wish it would be, or to an unrealistic, polarized memories of how it used to be. Let me break that down for you. Have you ever broken up with someone knowing full well that breaking up is the perfect decision? Then 3 or 4 weeks down the line, you start feeling lonely and you're thinking back on the relationship. You're not looking at it holistically. You're just looking at the bits that you miss, the good bits, the cuddling, the laughing, all that stuff. You're forgetting all the fighting and the turmoil and all that sort of stuff. So you're remembering the good, you're putting that up on a pedestal. Now all of a sudden, because you put that on a pedestal, you put your current reality down in the pit. You're thinking, oh, I would be so happy if I had that relationship again, which means I don't have that relationship now, I'm going to be sad. As long as you're comparing your life to that fantasy of how you thought things were, you're going to be miserable right here, right now. But all you have to do to balance out your mind is you remind yourself of the other side of the equation, the reasons why you went through that breakup, why that was the right decision. When you start reminding yourself of the drawbacks of being in that relationship and then start listing the benefits of your current reality, you're no longer comparing your life to a fantasy. You become more grateful for where you are right here, right now. That is when depression loses its grip on you. Now let's look on the other side. It's easy to sit here and think that winning the lottery will solve all your problems, that if you win the lottery, your life will be perfect, it'll be amazing, it'll be all good. But as long as you have that belief, you're comparing your current life to a fantasy of how good life will be if you win the lottery. All of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I'll be happy if I win the lottery. So I'm obviously going to be miserable and unhappy now because I haven't won the lottery. The problem with this is you're attributing your happiness to an outcome that you hope for. Hope isn't a strategy. This is making you powerless to your happiness. Saying that I'm only going to be happy if something happens that's about as likely as being struck by lightning. That's crazy. And the other thing, winning the lottery isn't all good. It's not the end of all your problems. With winning millions of dollars comes a whole new host of challenges. All of a sudden, you have to manage millions and millions of dollars. You have to fight off the temptation for hedonism. You have people coming to you expecting things from you, looking at you different, treating you different. Winning the lottery isn't an all good thing. Once you start realizing that winning the lottery would have its drawbacks and not having won the lottery and your current life has its benefits, you get to balance that equation in your mind. You're no longer comparing your life to a fantasy. You become more grateful for where you are because you see this has its balance of benefits and drawbacks. That fantasy, that outcome I wish I had, has its balance of drawbacks and negatives as well as benefits. It's not better or worse, it's just different. This shatters depressions. Gratitude and peace of mind start when comparison end. Okay, that's that. Let's tackle two other major culprits for depression. First up, the language that you use. Saying something like, I'll be happy when, insert blank, like, I'll be happy when I get a girlfriend, or I'll be happy when I graduate, I'll be happy when I get a job, I'll be happy when I get to Europe. Saying these sorts of things is like an agreement you're making with yourself that I hereby declare that I will not be happy until this outcome occurs. Life is too short to be kicking your happiness down the road. Attaching your happiness to a future outcome is dangerous because what we often do is we keep moving that finish line. So you're going through life chasing happiness, but it's always just out of reach. So you spend your whole 80 years always just a step behind happiness. That sounds miserable. By tying your happiness to a future event or outcome, you're forfeiting your happiness right here, right now. Ancient wisdom is enjoy the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination, right? You're allowed to be happy and grateful for where you are right here, right now, for the challenge that you're currently facing. You're allowed to enjoy every step of the process, and when that thing happens, continue being happy. That's what happens when you practice gratitude, when you stop comparing your life to a future outcome and instead focus and zero in on where you are now. You don't need that thing to bring you happiness. Happiness is what remains once you remove the belief that something is missing in your life. Lastly, stop looking for happiness. This is absurd. Someone out there looking for happiness, trying the 432 hertz music, the ice baths and all that sort of shit. They're like a guy stumbling around a house looking everywhere. Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Only to eventually give up, sit on the couch, rub his head and realize, oh, my glasses were on my head the whole time. As long as you believe that happiness is something that exists somewhere out there away from you, that will be your reality. Once again, I said it a minute ago, happiness is what remains once you remove the belief that something is missing in your life. Once you remove the belief that you have to find happiness, you have to search for it, you have to cultivate it, all of a sudden you allow happiness to just come in. Happiness is easy. All you have to do is practice gratitude. Be grateful for what you have right now. Balance out the fantasies that you have in your mind to recognize how you are in the perfect place. Let's toss out this idea that depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain. As I said, my arm's not just going to break itself. A chemical imbalance isn't going to just occur. This table's not just going to set on fire. That's not how things work. But if you believe in those sorts of things, then oh my God, the world's a scary place. If I think that, oh shit, anything could just burst into flames at any time, I'm going to be petrified. If I believe that depression can just pop up randomly, I'm going to be petrified. Understanding cures that. So, if there's a chemical imbalance in the brain, something had to cause it. And I'm going to give you an example to explain this. Imagine we've got a bloke, Jimbo, and he signs up to do this experiment where he gets locked in a house for a week and he's getting a brain MRI every single day. First 3 days, 4 days, MRIs are normal. Brain scan, healthy, nothing. Then after the MRI on day 4, the people running the experiment tell him, sorry Jimbo, we've got some terrible news for you. Unfortunately, there's been an accident. A few of your family members just died. We can't give you any more information, and sorry, you can't get out to go to the funerals or be with your family because you said you're going to stay here in this experiment. So you've got to stay here for the next few days. Jimbo gets that news, marinates on it all day. Brain scan day 5. All of a sudden, there's chemical imbalances. The brain scan shows there's grief, there's depression, he's miserable, all those sorts of things. His brain is just going crazy and firing off all things. Day 6, same again. Are we surprised? No. But after the brain scan on day 6, the people come in like, Jimbo, we are so sorry, we made a terrible mistake. Your family are fine. They're actually going to come visit you tonight so you can see that they're all fine. We're so sorry for the inconvenience and the emotional turmoil we've caused you. Once we've done the brain scan tomorrow, we're also going to give you $10 million. We're so sorry, please forgive us. Day 7, he goes into the brain scan realizing, okay, everyone's fine. I'm actually about to get $10 million. We scan his brain. Oh my God, there's no chemical imbalance. Do you think that maybe because we removed the cause, all of a sudden we removed the effect? Depression isn't just about chemicals. It's about how we're perceiving our world around us. So next time you hear that depression is just some chemical imbalance, ask yourself, what's causing the imbalance? And more importantly, what can we do about that imbalance? This is how you start reclaiming your power. And this is where mindset work comes in. Mindset work isn't about slapping band-aids on bullet wounds. It's not about temporary fixes. It's about rewiring and changing your thought patterns. It's about going into the root cause, balancing out your perceptions and balancing out your emotions. So you might be asking, how do we balance out our emotions? Well, it's quite simple. We find what that root cause is. We find what we're comparing our life to, what narrative we're running. If I keep saying, I wish I could go back in time to when I had a girlfriend, then I'm comparing my reality right now to a fantastical reality of when I had that girlfriend. I'm putting my reality in the pit and that one up on the pedestal. Because this one's in the pit, of course I'm going to feel miserable. Of course I'm going to be unhappy. And of course I'm going to be thinking that's going to be so much better. But that's just because I'm imbalanced in my perception of this. I'm only seeing the good in this and I'm only seeing the bad in this. So I dive in and I ask questions to balance my mind. What were the drawbacks of having that girlfriend? You keep listing the drawbacks and the negatives until you see that it's not an all good thing. It had its balance of benefits and drawbacks. What are the benefits of my current reality? What are the benefits of being single? I have more time, I get more control of my life, less obligations, You balance out your perception to this. Balancing out your perceptions to those two things removes the comparison, removes the misery, because you're no longer comparing your life to how you wish it was, and instead you become more grateful for your life as it is. If you are ready to break free from these negative thinking habits and to stop chasing surface level solutions, then make sure you are subscribed to this channel and make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss any of these tools and mindset hacks you can use to balance out your emotions and to master your life. For the next steps on your journey, I would highly recommend checking out my video here on resilience and the Stoic practice of amor fati. Any questions or thoughts, please leave comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.